My wife wants to divorce me after we found out she couldn't conceive. We'd been trying for 2 years. I don't know how to explain what that does to a couple. You start every month with this low-grade hope you try not to name, because naming it makes it heavier when it doesn't happen. And then it doesn't happen. And then it doesn't happen again. You learn to just keep moving. You get good at not talking about it directly. You develop a whole silent language around it. She'd look at me a certain way after a negative test, and I'd put my hand on her back, and we'd go to bed and not say anything, and somehow that was enough. We were okay. Hurting, but okay. Together. Then the doctor visit happened. It wasn't a surprise exactly. We'd been through enough appointments to feel it coming, but hearing it said out loud in that office with the diplomas on the wall and the little model of a uterus on the desk, something shifted. Permanent, that was the word he used. The options we had left weren't really options. IVF wasn't on the table. There was no next step to pivot to. She didn't cry. That was the thing that scared me. She'd cried at every negative test. She'd cried in parking lots and in the shower, and once at a coworker's baby shower, she'd insisted on attending because she didn't want to be the woman who couldn't handle it. I'd held her through all of it. I knew what her crying looked like. In that office, she just nodded, asked one clarifying question, said thank you to the doctor, stood up. I followed her out. The ride home was 40 minutes. She looked out the window the whole time. I turned the radio on, then turned it off. I reached over once and put my hand on hers. She didn't pull away, but she didn't hold it either. Just let it sit there. That night, she slept on the couch. She said she needed space. I said okay. I lay in our bed staring at the ceiling for most of the night. By the next morning, she'd already looked up divorce attorneys. She didn't hide it. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter when I came down for coffee. I saw the tabs. I didn't say anything. I made us both coffee and set hers next to her without a word. She looked up and said, I think we should talk. I said, okay. She told me she'd been thinking about it all night, that the thing I'd wanted most, a family, kids, a house full of noise, she couldn't give me that anymore. That it wasn't fair to stay in a marriage that couldn't become what we'd planned. That she wasn't going to let me spend the next decade pretending it was fine and quietly resenting her for it. I told her I wasn't going anywhere. She said I was being stupid and not thinking clearly. I said maybe, but I wasn't leaving. She got frustrated, said she was trying to do something selfless and I was making it harder. I told her it wasn't selfless. It was her trying to blow the whole thing up before it could hurt her any worse than it already had. She went quiet. Then she said, you don't know that. I said, I know you. She didn't respond. Just picked up her coffee and went to the bedroom and closed the door. That was how the next 2 weeks went. She'd pull back. I'd stay close, but give her room. She stopped sleeping on the couch, but she'd go to bed before me and be up before I woke up. We were living parallel to each other in the same house. She brought up the divorce twice more. Once in an argument where she said I was suffocating her by refusing to take her seriously. Once quietly, almost gently, like she was hoping I'd finally agree. I didn't agree either time. What I did instead was cook. I'm not a great cook. She's always been better, but I know her favorites. I learned them over 8 years together, so I started making them. Her mom's pasta with the lemon and capers, the sheet pan chicken she makes when she's had a rough week, tomato soup from scratch, the specific kind she only wants when she's sick. I made it all. Didn't announce it, didn't make it a gesture, just put the plate down and sat across from her. She ate. Sometimes she talked, sometimes she didn't. About 2.5 weeks in, she came into the kitchen while I was cooking. I was making the pasta, her mom's recipe, the one she'd walked me through step by step on a Sunday afternoon 3 years ago, because I'd asked her to teach me. She stood in the doorway watching me. I didn't make a thing of it, just kept cooking. She sat down at the table, didn't say anything. I didn't either. I put the plate in front of her and sat down across from her, and we ate together in silence for the first time in weeks. Not uncomfortable, just quiet. When she was done, she looked at me and said, I don't know how to do this. I said, me neither. She said, I'm really sad. I said, I know. I'm really sad too. And then she cried. Actually cried for the first time since the office. I moved my chair around to her side of the table and she leaned into me and I held on. We stayed like that for a long time. I think we're going to be okay.